So very quickly, I just wanted to run through what's happening at the moment in Northern Ireland from our perspective, and just talk about a single case study of how we've applied some of these principles to a big piece of publicly visible work. And that is really the Department of Health, the Northern Ireland's response to the coronavirus epidemic. So starting with empathy, to really sort of understand what was going on at a citizen level, defining a specific problem, responding in a creative way, so developing a prototype and testing the hypothesis. So these are the 5 steps of design thinking: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. I just want to talk to you about sort of how this sort of shows up in practice. So we have been working with HSE&I and the Department of Health and Public Health Agency from around about middle of March. The initial brief that we were asked to take on and work with a fantastic company called Civica, a global technology business, and we partnered with Civica to develop the Northern Ireland Symptom Checker app. And that was from start to finish. It took 2 weeks to get live. So I tell you just a little bit about how we organized at scale, under pressure, at that pace. You might sort of be encouraged that nothing is impossible here. So we started out really to develop this kind of service, and the hypothesis was that if we could divert calls from GPs, GP out of hours, and calls that would typically be diverted to the 111 number, that would free up all of those services to really prioritize and help people who were symptomatic, who were experiencing real health issues and severe health issues. And so fast forward, we are now sort of on our way to 100,000 downloads for the Symptom Checker. We've developed 5 versions of this. The first version was got out the door in 2 weeks, and that involved really very quickly identifying a very small sample of 20 users that were split up across gender, socioeconomic background, and geography. We carried out just over 2 days, 45-minute long interviews with these 20 individuals, and we were able to do a kind of a piece of synthesis where we could generate a range of themes. And what that did was it allowed us to understand the problem slightly differently. If we had to set out to give kind of broad generic information within this app, we might not have got the uptake, or might not have been as effective. But what we really learned was that we needed to kind of go about this in a very specific way. So the app itself is basically a kind of a triage system, and it allows us to ingest a whole range of questions from users who are maybe concerned about being symptomatic, about not really knowing when to self-isolate or how to do that, or should they do that. So this was sort of a workflow that was developed in a whole sort of triage system, a decision tree, if you like, that would get users to a certain point and would give them up-to-the-minute information. So the app looks a little bit like this. Through sort of version 4 and 5, we started to kind of introduce personalization. Then we introduced a self-timer, so that if you're self-isolating, you can start to kind of time, and so you know where you are, whether you're on 7 days or day 9 or day 11. Starting to introduce interactions where we're kind of asking people how they feel, so it becomes a companion, and really evolving the technology, but doing that in a way that's really sensitive to what's going on with the user, and understanding that if the more we know about the customer, about the user, the more effective the technology is going to be. We also developed a comprehensive website that was a companion to the app. We kind of realized actually communication has a massive part to play in this, so we need a dedicated website for COVID-19. And that then led to the development of a design system, so a kind of a common design language across all of these applications, which again sort of orient and onboard people and put them at ease, knowing that this is the sort of the single source of truth across all these applications and interfaces. And most recently, we have been working with with a firm in the Republic called Nearform. Nearform are actually the company that are behind the COVID tracker, which is the HSE in Dublin in the South's response to contact tracing. And these are some examples of the contact tracing app, which will give way, the symptom tracker will give way to this new app, which is going to be released hopefully in the next couple of weeks. So we've read all about contact tracing and the controversy. Really, really, really important to apply this way of working to something like this, where it's so critical that we get that critical mass of the population who are happy to download the app and then use contact tracing. So lots of research here, and to really sort of understand those kind of diverse opinions and perceptions and marked caution that's out there in the population. So again, by understanding our customer, by defining a specific problem, we can respond in a really accurate way, and then we can de-risk by prototyping and testing. So everything that we've done here, we would develop a sort of wireframes or kind of a lightweight prototype, and we test and learn and test and learn. And once we're really confident that we know this is going to work, we start to build out the sort of component library and then work with the engineering teams to deploy.